Hello and welcome to MotorTrend's 2012 Sport Utility of the Year test program. 10 new or substantially upgraded sport utility vehicles are eligible for this year's award. They are BMW X3, Dodge Durango, Dodge Journey, Ford Explorer, Jeep Wrangler, Mercedes-Benz ML, Mini Countryman, Range Rover Evoque, Saab 94X and Volkswagen's Touareg. It's a diverse field filled with vehicles with very different capabilities and very different price tags. But it's important to remember that MotorTrend's Sport Utility of the Year program is not a comparison test. Each of the contenders is evaluated against 6 criteria: advancement in design, engineering excellence, efficiency, safety, value, and performance of intended function. This first part of the judging program puts all the contenders through MotorTrend's usual round of performance tests, including standing start acceleration, braking, and our unique figure 8 test, which provides an instant snapshot of a vehicle's steering, stability, and road holding. The judges are led on a detailed walk around of each contender by the MotorTrend staff member who attended the launch of the vehicle. The features and pricing of the vehicle are discussed, and the exterior styling and interior fit, finish, and usability are evaluated. Each of the judges drives each of the contenders on a closed course to evaluate performance and handling under extreme conditions, deliberately pushing each of the contenders much harder than their owners would ever drive them to find hidden faults. Engine noise, transmission smoothness, brake feel, and of course the effectiveness of stability control systems are all under the microscope here. But this is just the beginning, a first stage that separates those vehicles which don't meet one or more of the criteria from the real contenders.
We got the Dodge Journey here, which, I mean, if we're completely honest, there's not much that makes it really like a traditional SUV here. It's not really a big deal in the world of SUVs.
May not be a big deal in the world of SUVs until you start looking at our criteria, I think, and you start to see some interesting things crop up here. There's a very strong value play with the Journey. It is one of the most affordable SUVs on the market that can seat up to 7 passengers. Yeah, you don't drive it very hard. It's not meant to be a sporty kind of SUV, but there's a very high utility factor. So for those reasons alone, I think this one has to go on.
So here we have the 2012 Saab 94X. This is kind of a sentimental favorite. I mean, this is kind of almost like a last hurrah for the brand. It is based on the Cadillac SRX, but I think it's amazingly well differentiated. It doesn't look anything like it. It goes around corners pretty well. Turbo engine has been smoothed out quite a bit from the early SRXs.
Yeah, but I remember, back with Saabs when that turbo boost gauge really meant something. Like, yes, you're gonna have a little lag, but as soon as it popped to the top, boom, you rocked back in your seat. And because they want to be all turbo, they chose the turbo, and it's kind of really too slow for this big of a car. And also, we talk a lot at SUV of the Year that we want the car to move the needle forward. I think this one's actually moving the needle backwards. I mean, it's just really not doing anything new, not doing anything different, and it's just not good enough to take with us.
So this is the 2012 Land Rover Range Rover Evoque. This is a fashion statement, but at the same time, there's actual ability here. It's a lot of fun to drive. I really like this vehicle.
It's a fashion statement, but it's also a really expensive fashion statement. It's almost $58,000 for this car, and it only has a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. So I don't agree with keeping this in the competition, but everyone else is for it, so I'll concede.
You often say that there are no bad cars anymore, but that's not an excuse for mediocrity. The 2-liter EcoBoost engine is doing it no favors.
The Sync infotainment is probably the most advanced piece of technology you can get in a car right now.
Do we need to talk about my Ford Touch? I mean, come on. Nobody likes that. It just doesn't meet any of the criteria very well, and we're going to leave it behind.
All right, we're to the X3. This happens to be the turbocharged inline-6 version.
It's a great overall package from BMW.
Yeah, you feel like you're sitting on a bar stool in this thing.
It's comfortable though. It's a comfortable bar stool.
But it's not a BMW.
Ultimately, it fits all the criteria, and we tend to like it, so we're going to bring it on to the next round.
So the Dodge Durango, and I gotta tell you, I love driving this thing. It makes a terrific racket. Where the Durango lacks is engineering excellence. This kind of has an old transmission, about 5 years old. It's a very simple product that does a lot of things well, but doesn't do anything exceptionally, and that's why I think it should stay.
Well, I'll grant you the engineering excellence ding on the transmission, but on the other hand, we've got a 3.6 liter V6 here that can tow 6,200 pounds. So I would make the argument that in a lot of the criteria here, performance of intended function especially, this is one of the top SUVs here. I say it comes along.
Well, here we have the 2012 VW Touareg. It's nicely German engineered, but it's been decontented a bit in its off-road ability versus the last model. I think it should stay.
But there's no denying the diversity of the lineup. You have the hybrid, you have the VR6, and you have the regular diesel, TDI. Pick any flavor, you're gonna have fun. It does a lot of things, and for those reasons, we think we should take it on.
This is a 2012 Wrangler. I will not deny that this probably is the best Jeep ever. However, it is completely a unitasker. So I just don't think it meets the criteria of an SUV. It's an off-roader.
Not only is this an American icon, but as you said, it's the best one ever. So it's the best version of an actual icon. As far as our criteria goes, it basically dings them all. I think there's no question, this one's coming forward.
So here we are at the 2012 Mercedes-Benz ML class here. These guys kind of started this category in a lot of ways, and it's still unquestionably, an engineering masterpiece. The criteria that troubles me probably the most is value. We've got a diesel version, which I love diesels, but it starts out at $51,365, and this one is optioned up to $75,745. That's half of the base price added in options, and to me that's just about unconscionable.
True, pricing is an issue with this one. It does tend to top out, but you can't argue with what this vehicle offers. Silky smooth ride, incredible interior, build quality is second to none, powerful, fun to drive, diesel and a gasoline option. Hard to argue with what they've offered here, so I definitely think it should go on to the next round.
After 2 days of performance testing, detailed inspections and closed-loop driving, 7 of our original 10 contenders are still in with a chance. But the next 2 days are about sweating the details, about finding the one vehicle that best meets the award's 6 criteria. We have a 38-mile loop that includes freeway, 2-lane country roads and a dirt track, real-world roads, real-world driving conditions. Out here, we'll be evaluating things like ride quality, seat comfort, how easy the controls are to use, all the stuff that regular customers notice every day. On the dirt road, we'll learn about traction control and stability control systems, and general vehicle capability on marginal surfaces. And after all the driving has been done, all the tyres have been kicked, all the seats flipped and folded, and all the test data reviewed, the judges will sit down to discuss, debate, and decide the 2012 MotorTrend Sport Utility of the Year. So now's crunch time. So now we got to cut down to a winner. So let's start with BMW X3.
To me, the X3 goes down the criteria and nails them, almost all of them.
I'm not sure it moves the ball all that far. The other one was a great handling, great driving car. This one is too, not a lot better. They haven't added a lot of other utilities, so to me it's not in my top list.
Okay, next on the list, Dodge Durango.
This is an interesting transition for those people that used to like body-on-frame SUVs and don't necessarily want to do that anymore. They want something unibody, and this is their option.
But there was a few just glaring issues that I had with it. The engines don't feel very powerful. The V8 especially, it sounds good, but it just doesn't go. The transmissions both feel very outdated. The gearing in them doesn't feel good. When we see what the Journey has and what they can do, and they did in the Durangos, and that's just really disappointing.
Actually, the Journey was probably one of those that was a bit of a quiet achiever, a bit of a surprise packet.
Yeah, without question, the Dodge Journey was the big surprise for me. What I liked about it was that it constantly surprised you. Everywhere that the Durango falls down, the Journey is stepping up, except for the transmission.
I agree with you that it's a huge improvement over previous cars, and I think maybe that is blinding people a little bit. For a vehicle like that, it's still just not quite performing efficiently. As an overall package, it's decent, but it's not great at all.
The next one, Jeep Wrangler, kind of shows how diverse this field is. At one level, we're talking about something that's almost like a minivan. Now we have something that's really iconic and a traditional roll crawl. It shows how much Sport Utility of the Year has changed.
It also shows how much the Jeep remains a true off-road or a true sport utility vehicle. If you're a family, you've got a couple of kids or whatever, and you need something a little bit larger, but want something a little bit different, out of the ordinary for your daily driver, you can get by with this. You'll be able to get pretty much anything you want done with it and have something distinctive and maybe actually take it off-road sometime.
Although in its newest form, it's probably the best Jeep Wrangler ever to date, but there's still some gripes that I've had. I found the long clutch, the language steering, they were just old characteristics that didn't match well for a modern pack of SUVs. So in my mind, that doesn't make it an SUV of the year winner.
Okay, so we go from one of the most iconic and some would say old school sport utilities here to one of the most high-tech and advanced packages, the Mercedes-Benz ML class.
The engineering is really outstanding. It doesn't look a lot different than the outgoing version, but the changes that they made are incredible. And you know, the best thing about it is that you can really transport a family of 4 on a week-long road trip and have enough room for luggage, and you're going wherever you're going in comfort.
This is Mercedes-Benz. This is the ML. They invented, the segment. The ML that we drove, it was as expected. It was very capable. It was quiet. It was a splendid drive. But again, it just doesn't do it emotionally. It doesn't really push the bar any further down the field. For me, that can't be SUV of the year then.
Okay, this one's a very interesting one and takes Range Rover into new territory. Very interesting vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, I had no preconceptions of the Evoque. I just hadn't thought about it that much. But the first time I turned the steering wheel, I was just sort of instantly in love with the cars. It just had that wonderful kind of set that really good performing cars have. But we talk about in terms of moving the needle. Does it advance the bar? I mean, this kicks the needle into the next decade. This is what the future of the SUV has to be. I can't think of enough good things to say about the Evoque. It's just a wonderful, wonderful SUV.
I'll add to that. The design in particular is spectacular, but I'm going to get really petty here, so brace yourself. The design says, I'm really technologically advanced. I'm with it, I get it, I have all the newest, latest features, bells and whistles. But you hop inside, and you turn on that infotainment system, and it's the same one I've seen in every Jaguar, and it's slow. The nav screen is a little cumbersome, and sure, there's a lot of camera and stuff hidden in there, but accessing is kind of a pain. And there's just some elements missing there that I really wanted to see that the design really sold me on.
That's pretty petty.
Told you, warned you.
Okay, and that brings us to the last of the 7 that made it through the final round, the Volkswagen Touareg.
It is a little less decontented, but they're well equipped. They feel classy on the inside. They're nice to drive. It's just a very solid car.
Phil, I think you kind of made the case against it too, because they've really taken a lot out of it. It's a lot less capable off-road. I think it falls short in, I think, several of our categories where you would want it to be to make it a winner.
Okay, so you all know the drill now. Hand out the ballot papers, and I want your top 3 choices on there, but only 1 vote counts, of course. First past the post. Remember, it's against the 6 criteria. So here we go. Okay, we've got a result. It's going to be very interesting, this one. 2012 MotorTrend Sport Utility of the Year is Range Rover Evoque.